Hi, and welcome to another week of Tips for AI Trailblazers by Demystify. I'm Kathleen Purley, your host and founder of Demystify. On this week's episode, we'll be talking about how to build AI avatars. So why don't we go ahead and get started and demystify this AI trend that we're seeing widespread, both in political elections and across different types of chatbots. So as I share my screen, one of the tools we're going to be using today is called Soul Machines. And there's another tool out there called HeyGen, which is also really great at building these AI avatars. A fun fact, if you're interested, is the CEO, Mark Sager, is actually might have seen some of his previous work before he started Soul Machines, and two very well-known films, Avatar and King Kong. So his background in cinematography is really what he brought to the table and brought to life for others to use, coupled with AI, which is kind of a little fun fact. Actually, when I was teaching recently, I was like, I referenced was like the CEO worked on a famous movie with some blue people, and one of my students said Smurfs, and I kind of laughed. I was like, different blue people, but I can understand where you got that. But today we're going to talk about how to build these and how this tool really works. I'm going to show you some of those different steps, and then I'll have you guys interact with an AI avatar that I created with my students during class. So the first thing that you'll see when you get into Soul Machines is you have the ability to utilize different templates like you see here. So you have like a solution expert, an explorer, a conversation coach, a greeter, a digital influencer. I find these to be really helpful in sales training and having them record their interactions with what you'll call like prototypes of your kind of demographic clients, if you will, in terms of what those personas act and talk like and what are some of the concerns or feedback they might have. So when you can either use a template or you can start from the ground up. So if you do, you just create a new project, as you can see here. This is using a preset avatar or an existing avatar. But I'm actually going to go back and show you how you can actually build the avatars. This does take about 20 minutes, but we obviously will not be watching it kind of render. But just so you can have an idea of really the complete possibilities that are available in these tools. So when you're working on this, you can see you can do a masculine or a feminine and kind of body type. And so if you want to go more masculine in nature, you'll have to click apply changes to kind of see like a preview, if you will. So you can kind of see some of that come through. You can see here, I can put them in a suit or a tailored jacket. And as I mentioned earlier, just constantly applying the changes will kind of give you an idea of what that looks like if you want to kind of see a preview. You can change the background color. You can update and upload background design. So if you're working for a company, you kind of put that in the background if you like. You could even have accessories. So if you're working for a company, let's say in the healthcare arena, you can put like what you would typically see in a clinical badge on their kind of lapel. And those could obviously be customized to really reflect your company's brand. You have the ability to add makeup, apply different hairstyles, change the hair color. So if we want to utilize kind of more of an older look with maybe some lacquer hair, let's just try that. You can kind of see how it changes and verify some of those things. You also have the ability to kind of select different types of skin colors. I do love that this tool gives you a lot of options when it comes to these, and then you have the ability to further manipulate this kind of like pieces of it with using things like brightness. So if you want to increase the brightness of it, you can kind of see that come to life in the imagery here, which is really great. Or you can kind of move them more matte. I do think as you move them more matte, it does kind of become a little bit more AI generated looking than you see right here. You do have the ability to blend different facial features. So if you would like them to have a kind of more pronounced chin and like elongated face, you would just kind of manipulate this a little bit to adjust those. So you have a lot of different features here that you can change, which are really great. So you can really make these individuals look like specific individuals and within your organization, or some favorites of yours. Obviously, we've seen a lot of the deep fakes recently with the election coming up, and I think we've seen some deep fakes of Taylor Swift, Kamala Harris. So, some of this is coming from technology like this. But they've done a really great job of kind of making it hard to, like, you can't auto copy a direct human. This will also give you the option to adjust some of the head shapes. When we think about humans and how our heads are all shaped differently. The interesting thing about this is just when they talk about, you've heard the speakers and the CEO speak about kind of the technology, he really refers to it as like digital DNA. And with DNA, there's so many endless combinations that come together, and he really brings us to life in this tool. So you have the ability to change eye color, eye shape. So if we want to give him like more of a bluish gray eye, we can, or we can give him a darker eye color. We can change his nose shape, as well as lips. So you can see how specific, and even like on the lip variations, how detailed you can get with this. Maybe even if you're interested in, maybe getting a lip filler, you could do it on AI first, and see how that comes to life. So what you would do, so this will generate your avatar, so you could finalize it. You would name him or her, and then you are able to use them in a number of different scenarios that you have. So since we are not going to use this avatar today, because it does take about 20 minutes for it to render fully, I just wanted to walk you through that process, and then I'll show you how I've set up my other avatar. So you can kind of see how to do that on your own as well. So as we wait for this to render, this is a AI avatar that I have generated. We're going to go ahead and open. Let's see, why is that? Let's come. There we go. I'm going to edit it so you can kind of see all the different steps that go into making this AI avatar. So for this project in particular, we want to do something simple with a knowledge base that could be beneficial. And so we created an AI avatar that was trained
Hello.
Oh,
I'm your virtual sponsor, here to support you on your journey through the 12-step program. Together, we'll navigate the challenges and celebrate the victories as you work towards recovery. How can I assist you today?
So as you can see now, they are very boisterous and have no issues interrupting you. But this is just kind of her initial prompt that I've given her as she speaks. But you can see here in terms of how you set this up, you have the ability to use one of your custom avatars. You can also use a preset avatar if you like. So they have a few preset avatars in here that you can leverage. And then you'll go into, once you have your avatar created, you'll go into their behavior. So you can make them, they have some behavior opportunities that you can select. So something that's conscientious, maybe more free-spirited. One of the things I've done when I've done a lot of sales training, a lot of the people I work with sometimes are CTOs or engineers who may be a little bit more on the shy side. So I'll add that personality in. Obviously, this is a tool that I worked on with my students for individuals who are struggling with alcoholism or addiction. So we wanted it to be conscientious. So really kind of have some of those consistencies of intelligent, thoughtful, perfectionist, a little bit resourceful and independent. So we wanted that kind of tone to come across. Now you can, maybe if it's something for children, you might want to go something a little bit more bubbly or friendly. But I feel like conscientious behavior is probably the most appropriate for business settings, but depending on your audience and your purpose of your avatar, you might want to adjust. So once you select this behavior, you also have the ability to change a few other settings, like, do you want the digital person to interrupt? Do you want to further make them more expressive? Do you want them to greet them at the start? How often or how quickly after a session do you want them to kind of go away if there's like a lull in conversation? And how do you want them to react to negative speech or negative expression? So it's using not only natural language processing and LLMs to understand what's being spoken and heard. It's also using computer vision to read body language and how people are interacting to get an understanding of maybe what that person might be feeling in that moment. And so when we go into more of the knowledge base, so you can either continue scrolling down or you can kind of go through these, what I'll call like quick nav on the left-hand side. You have the ability to either use an existing GPT. So if you have a GPT that you're already leveraging within your organization, you can just automatically connect this as part of the knowledge source, or you can create custom content cards that may appear visually if you want to provide additional information or resources as part of the conversation or interaction that this digital person will have with others. What's also really great is you have the ability to specify language. And so when we think about accessibility, the ability for an AI avatar to speak in multiple languages is huge in terms of helping reach the needs of many others. I've also had students who've used this to create an avatar that they can talk to practice learning another language like Spanish or French, which is really fun. And then you have the ability to, change the interface, some of the colors, you can add a logo. Um, and you can add different things like, do you want them to be responsive to the camera? Do you want more of a cinematic effect to it, and some orchestration? So when you look at orchestration, this layers in a little bit more of natural language processing, and you have to have it accessible via URL input. So I typically, that's how it has to be deployed today. But if you're deploying it on your server, you just mention that you're developing it locally and they'll kind of toggle that on. So when we go back up, we kind of looked at some of all these different things in terms of deployment, orchestration. I want to go a little bit further into the conversation and the knowledge part, because this is kind of the meat, if you will, of building these avatars. So when you go into this, what you'll see is you can give the little person a name. You can give it a role. I also times have found using whether it's ChatGPT or Claude to help with writing some of these to be really beneficial in terms of getting these done quickly. You also are able to give it some additional conversation. We chose a behavior, but you can further define that in this spot here. You can give it some high-level prompting, and then you can give it some knowledge snippets. So for this avatar, we use the 12-step program. So we kind of push this in, kind of pasted this information in here. But you also have the ability to access or have it push to certain specific URLs as part of their knowledge base. You then have the ability to customize welcome messages. And you have certain things that you can kind of specify that you don't want the AI avatar digital person to talk about. If you've been following AI since 2016, 2017, and you remember Ty, which was a like 19-year-old female chatbot that was created that was using really more imitation as part of its training model, that you as somebody can interact with it with an avatar and kind of get it to say certain things or talk about certain things that you might not want your brand to be associated with. So you can specify that. You also can specify an error message, and then you can kind of connect to your open API or to your API key through OpenAI. So you can see that's mine's on there. They do have a safety filter that you can turn on, which kind of like avoids offensive topics. But since this is a AI avatar for individuals struggling with addiction, we didn't want that to override the ability to talk about drugs or alcohol or addiction as a whole. And then you can kind of talk about always refresh the knowledge on the project deployment. If you're thinking about how you build this for your company, let's say you will have a URL and you'll be updating that on a regular basis, then you might want to have it turned on where it does refresh its kind of knowledge base. For this project in particular, since the 12-step program, we're not necessarily needing it to be refreshed on a regular basis, so we've skipped that. And then you have things like maximum response length, how much do you want it to cut off in terms of its knowledge base. We put a low cutoff there, which means it's very inclusive. And then you can also talk about creativity, like in the level of creativity that you'd want. Obviously, this is something we're using for individuals struggling with addictions. We want it to stick to the facts. But you can, if you're using it to interact and tell stories with your kids or kind of be a little bit more of a kooky client to push a sales training rep, you can kind of adjust that and see how that works. So this gives you a lot of the resources. You do have the ability to customize the API types if you have additional ones within Azure as well, which is nice. So we're not going to say that, but just wanted to walk you through how you kind of set up the knowledge base and how you train him on a specific set of data. And then you have the ability, as I mentioned earlier, to do custom content cards. So you can do video links or show cards at the beginning of responses, things of that nature. So for example, if you want to have a disclaimer that starts with some resources for addiction, that would be something that we could add. So that is really how you build the avatar. It's really simple. You have the ability to preview it in real time. And then when you go to deploy, which I'll do really quickly here, you have the ability to either embed or deploy it on a URL through Soul Machines and share that link out with others. So let's see, I don't know what happened there. Let's check that again. So deploy now. So you can see here, you can open a new tab, you can deploy it so you can get the code. The other interesting thing about this tool that's really, here's the embed code here, is that you can actually create video assets. So if you want this AI avatar to have a conversation with somebody and be more of a training video demo, so for example, you want it to have a conversation with somebody internally to kind of give some insights on some things that are going on in the organization, you can record it and then send that recorded video out to others than rather than having like kind of like a live spontaneous conversation. So I'll open up in a new tab and we will give it a go. I do love that Soul Machines, regardless of whether or not you have a policy in place, does go ahead and provide privacy policy and user agreement in terms of who's running the system and how this works in terms of face-to-face interaction. So it does a little bit of that knowledge training for your end users so they feel a little bit more comfortable with this. So I'm going to go ahead and say, come on in. And you're going to start hearing me interact with the AI digital person. And we're going to let Kate load.
Hello, I'm your virtual sponsor, here to support you on your journey through the 12-step program. Together, we'll navigate the challenges and celebrate the victories as you work towards recovery. How can I assist you today?
Hi, yes, I've been 12 days sober, but I'm really struggling because I've had a rough day and I really would just love a large glass of wine.
I understand that you're facing a tough moment, but remember, cravings are a normal part of recovery. When you feel the urge to drink, try reaching out to your support network, engage in a healthy activity, or practice mindfulness to ride out the craving. Stay strong, you've already come so far in your journey to sobriety. You can do this.
Well, so my kids are just so stressing me out and it just makes me want to have a glass or two of wine. What what recommendations or tips do you have to help me regulate my stress?
It's understandable that parenting can be stressful, especially during recovery. To manage stress in a healthy way, consider incorporating relaxation techniques like deep breathing, meditation, or exercise into your daily routine. Additionally, setting boundaries, seeking support from loved ones, and practicing self-care can help you navigate challenging moments without turning to alcohol. Remember, taking care of yourself is essential for being the best parent you can be.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm here to support you every step of the way. Remember, you're not alone in this journey, and reaching out for help is a sign of strength. Keep moving forward, one day at a time. You've got this.
So that just shows you a little bit of the technology in terms of how you can build and use these AI tools. I had a 5-second delay between kind of the human stopping talking and her starting because I didn't want interruptions. But you can adjust that accordingly. I built this AI avatar within about an hour. So it just gives you an idea of how, with more time, this could become even more incredible. And the really true opportunities this has for many individuals in terms of both personal development and professional development and in the workplace as well. So I hope you enjoyed this week's tips for AI trailblazers and have some fun building your own AI avatars. And I hope you will join us next week for our next episode, where we'll talk about how to utilize AI to really upskill your management and leadership style.